Welcome to Social Elo Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God while exposing the devil. When the Lord has something for you, do not sit back passively just because you know He's a sovereign God and allow the enemy to snatch what the Lord has in store for you. In Genesis 29, Leah and her father deceived Jacob and manipulated Jacob into a marriage. And I wondered how, after, in a sense, it seemed as if that situation was rectified, where, yes, he stayed married to Leah, but the Lord allowed him to marry Rachel also. That when the Lord saw that Jacob hated Leah, which under the circumstances should be expected, he allowed Leah to have children, but he kept Rachel barren. And it was last night where the Lord revealed something to me. And I was like, wow. When you sit back idly, you may end up suffering the consequences. The question is, where was Rachel when her father and her sister were coming up with a plan to deceive Jacob? Why didn't she stand up and fight for her blessings? Yes, I know it's hard back, especially back in those days, where a daughter almost being like his father or her father's property, where it's hard for her to stand up. But that's one of those things where when the Lord has something for you, and the time has come about not letting anyone stand in the way of it. But I have to clarify, that is when the Lord has something for you. Now, when you desire something, see, you could say Leah desired something and she got it by any means necessary. But that was a foul thing to do. But the question is, where was Rachel? Why didn't she stand up for the things the Lord had in store for her? So with her sister having children, since she stood back and watched her sister take the man she was supposed to marry, then she also got a chance to sit back and watch her sister have babies while she had none. Similarly, we see the Israelites. The Lord told the Israelites to go and possess the promised land. He told Moses to have him send 12 spies into the country. 10 of those spies came back with a negative report, talking about the giants who were in the land, the sons of Anak. But Caleb and Joshua, they wanted to go possess the land now. They wanted their inheritance now. The 10 were passive, they lacked faith. As a result of that, their destiny, them reaching their destiny, was delayed by 40 years. In addition, the generation from 20 years and older never stepped foot into the promised land. It cost them, because they were passive and they lacked faith. But Joshua and Caleb, because they wanted to go possess their promise, they didn't want to let the enemy keep their promise any longer, because they want to possess it at that moment in time. They were allowed to enter into the promised land and possess the promise. In the parable of the sower in Matthew 13, Jesus gives some examples of when seeds are planted and what causes them to sometimes fail to take root, even to the point where they can produce fruit. I just want to point out what he said in Matthew 13, verse 4. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. So some of the things were by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. The fowls came and devoured them up. The fowls came and devoured the promise. But in verses 18 through 19, when the Lord was explaining what the parable meant, hear ye therefore the parable of the sower. When anyone heareth the word of the kingdom, and understand it not, then cometh the wicked one, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is which received the seed by the wayside. So again, do not become passive when the Lord has something for you, because I can guarantee the devil has a thief who's more aggressive than you. And what you sit back sometimes waiting for the Lord to bring to you as opposed to going to possess, the devil will have someone who comes in aggressively to take what you left available. Do not become passive when the Lord has a promise for you. But again, please ensure that the promise is for you and that you heard it from God. Because there are many people out there trying to get promises that belongs to others. So what I'm going to say next is twofold, because the God is also a God of restoration. Because there are times when the devil snatches things up, he sends his messengers and they snatch things up, and the Lord is going to say, no way. So do not be fooled, because Leah snatched Jacob up and was able to keep him. In Joel 2, I'll just use verses 25 and 26. The Lord said, "And I will restore to you the years that the locust hath eaten, the cankerworm, and the caterpillar, and the palmer worm, my great army, which I sent among you. And ye shall eat in plenty, and be satisfied, and praise the name of the Lord your God, that hath dealt wondrously with you. And my people shall never be ashamed." So yes, there are times when you may have been passive. The Lord promised you something, but because you sat back, left room for the devil to come in, he or one of his messengers came in and snatched the thing away from you. Some things may have been lost, but the Lord is also a God of restoration, if he so desires. In some cases, he may give you something new. In another case, what sort of devil thought that he had, the Lord will snatch that thing away from the devil. And I'll close with this reminder in John 11:25. Jesus said unto her, "I am the resurrection and the life, and he that believeth in me, though he were dead, shall he live." If the Lord promised you something, but you know you lost it because of being passive, then by all means, appeal to the Lord for one more chance. And when you get it, when you get that chance, do not leave room for the devil to come in. In John 10:10, we're told that the thief comes but to steal, to kill, and to destroy. Do not let anyone get between you and your destiny. And I'm going to take you there. In 1 Samuel 17, after David had been anointed king, the Israelites were cowering in fear because of Goliath. But David showed up and was like, "Who's that uncircumcised Philistine that defies the army of the living God?" David went into battle, killed him with a rock, and then cut his head off because it was that serious. Goliath was standing between David and his destiny. I'm not telling you to go kill anyone. Please don't. But don't give the room, or don't give the enemy room to operate in your territory. Don't give the enemy room to snatch something that belonged to you. Don't give the enemy room to reap your promise. And in the case of Rachel, her sister, had the pleasure of getting to know Jacob first, because Rachel was passive. And for many years, she got a front row seat to see her sister having baby after baby, while she had none. Do not let your God-ordained opportunities pass by. In a sense, you should be asking the Lord, "Lord, just get me within striking distance. That is all I ask. Just get me within striking distance."